So, welcome to In Full Light. This is our Substack Live series, really where we're just celebrating heart led practitioners who are stepping into their power and sharing their gifts with the world. And today we are excited to be joined by our friend Josh Woll. He is a sobriety and creative clarity coach and really helping people get clear and get present and free by removing alcohol. So, thank you, Josh, for being here with us today.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for having me. And thanks everyone for joining.
Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you
And
have
if
any
I'm,
questions, just post it in the chat, and yeah, we're gonna do our best to read it and respond.
yeah. So, Josh, where I'd love to start with you is, we've got to know you over the last few years, so we're pretty familiar with your story. But for those who are
Yeah.
perhaps meeting you for the first time, maybe just tell us a little bit about who you are, the work you do, and I would say even more importantly, why you do it. What is kind of the deeper calling behind the work that you've chosen to do with the Sober Creative?
Yeah. Before the Sober Creative, like my line of work, over 20 years has been doing video production, photography. So I've had this creative spark and work through so many years, and just it's when I have the camera in my hand, as you guys have experienced. I was there in Brazil recently taking photos of you guys, and I'm just in that flow state, and it's just feels so natural and comfortable, and I just love it. And so fast forward of wanting to go a bit deeper in my work and seeing that alcohol was a big part of my life, and quitting it too, and it's now 5.5 years. And so I've worked with various coaches, and just all the work that I've done on myself over the years, I've wanted to take that and give that back based off of sharing my story and hearing others and their story and their relationship with alcohol. And so in working with you guys, it was kind of emerging of the two. And so the Sober Creative was born in April of last year, and it's been an incredible journey building it. And have a weekly podcast. It'll be my 60th episode tomorrow. Lots of essays. I've got a beautiful community. One of our members is here. I see her, Melinda. Hey, Melinda. Yeah, it's been a really, really awesome journey. And I would say the why is, gosh, I mean, my reason of letting it go is really to optimize my health. And it was a big part of that. And so, I mean, and it's still been a big part of, this 5.5 years is, how I live my best days. And so, yeah, using alcohol as a means to, everybody has a different relationship and it's complex. And so, but a lot of the reasons are to, regulate the nervous system. And so it's like, what through the research, the conversations, working with people individually, it's like, what can we explore and replace those with more healthy options? And so that's where my work is. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very nice, and I think it's very important. I had the opportunity to work with you through that challenging January, and I got some like great insights of examining that relationship that I know for sure I'm going to carry into my life. So thank you for that,
Well,
and I would love to hear. Like if you could paint the transformation, like when people start working with you, and after the process, like what is the before and after, if you could share with us, please.
yeah, totally. I mean, it's so the 90-day program that I offer, and working with, one-on-one clients is, pretty much like the first month is an exploration process where, it's like we're looking at patterns and really just like discussing like what are the reasons that you're using it. And just really kind of taking a deep look into what that is. But then also it's like what are you using it for? And really trying to find a way to replace that. And I think that's where like the creative aspect like comes into place, and really, whether it's a creative practice through an artistic standpoint, or if it's getting creative around, looking at different practices that you can replace with having to use alcohol as a means to relax and such. And so, um, really, I mean, yeah, it's trying to replace those, and using small steps in regards to doing that, in the second month. And then in the third month, it's, you're really kind of stepping into that space. I mean, it takes it takes commitment, to change. And, for each person, it's different. And so it's trying to, be kind and gentle, and such in regards to someone's practice in regards to letting it go, is different for everybody. And so it's, I think, each client, yeah, it's working with them specifically to, look at what works best with them. And then, in the third month, it's kind of taking all of this in place and then applying it daily and just kind of living it, on a day-to-day basis. And so that's really big change comes in, and you can feel it. I mean, it's you start to feel it after 30 days. You start to feel it even more, 60, and then going into 90. For me, it was 90 days when, like, I knew that it wasn't gonna be a part of my life. And so I just know that it's, for my reason of using it was just a means of, coping with difficult emotions, or, just being a part of, groups and friends and such, and it just being there, being something that you did. Um, was just like, I just don't need this anymore. I don't want that a part of my life. And so I've replaced it with other healthy habits and such. So yeah. Mm.
That's very interesting. You shared that for you was like dealing with like difficult emotions.
Yeah.
Like what other things people use alcohol for?
What other things do they use it for? Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah, like
mean,
that what they're trying to get from alcohol.
yeah, I mean, gosh, I mean, it's so wide. I mean, there are people that, can have one drink per week and be totally fine. There's a person who could probably have a drink a day and be fine. Um, but then there's people that it can be so far on the other side of the spectrum that, they're finishing a whole bottle of vodka, in one day or one sitting, or even probably multiple times per day. And so it's very, very different. And so, and it's such a big part of, our society and culture. And, fortunately, there's a lot of different things in place that are beneficial in regards to like support, whether it's like AA or different recovery groups. Um, there's the Sober app here on Substack. There's a number of different other sober coaches and such, like, doing the work that I'm doing. And so there's a lot of different outlets that people can get support around. And yeah, and so it's I think too, though, it's yeah, I mean, it's really like looking at like what's the reason that you're using it for, and just kind of like sit with that, and like really be honest with it. I think it's easy to be like, I don't drink that much. It doesn't really affect my life. And I was saying that too for the longest time. Like, I could totally function on a day-to-day basis, like having it and just thinking like that's my normal. And at some point I was like, this isn't, I don't like this normal anymore. And so that was when I started like tracking and, seeing if I could control it, and just none of those were working. And so it was like, okay, well, I'm at the point where I'm going to commit for a full year, and give it up, and then that's really where the change started happening. So yeah.
Mm, nice. I really like what you said about like identifying why and then finding other like healthy habits to replace that. Because like what makes me think right now is like, for example, if you use alcohol for relaxation, we do need relaxation, right? But that's the not the only way to get that. But sometimes it's just the quickest or the autopilot answer, and you just don't think about it. Like, and I'm like, yeah, good. And then it makes you feel something that you're not even aware. And like maybe you could meditate, or maybe just doing sports or movement or something. So just bringing that awareness. Thanks for sharing. And usually, like when people doing this work, there is often like a turning point, like a moment where they like, I need to go full in, I need to do that. Like, and maybe not, like that's just sometimes we see that there's like a moment of decision that like, I'm gonna commit to doing this work. Did you have that? And if yes, how was it?
Yeah, I mean, I do. Yeah, I do think that that's strongly like when a person's ready, they're ready. It's like, I mean, you can give people information all day and be like, "Hey, this is my life. It's better now. I'm doing this and this and this and this," and still, it's like that person might not see it that way. And they just might not be ready. I mean, even when I was drinking, um, it was never like it. I never, for myself, I never felt like it was a problem. And sometimes, when I'd be hanging out with friends or family, they'd be like, "Are you sure you want another one? Are you sure?" And in that moment, like it never registered as like, okay, maybe I should stop. I didn't feel like my behavior was being angry or irritating or anything like that. Maybe it was just more out of like care of like, okay, you've had 6 or 7 beers, and you sure you want another one? And in my mind, it was like, yeah, I like the feeling of it, and like to stay in that place. And just to kind of jump back a little bit with what you're saying with people needing it as relaxation. I think it's one of these things where it's like it's really easy to get it and get it fast. Like you can go to the store, swipe your card, start drinking it, and it's like the effects happen so quickly. And I think in a society where it's like, oh gosh, I mean, I think we've added so many layers of stress and such, in our lives, like over the course of, so many years. And it's one of those things that is like a quick solution. But, at the same time, it's this like it's a loop. It's a loop that affects your health in the long run. It affects your day, like the next day, in regards to like motivation and energy levels. And it depletes your system. And so, if you're constantly running on that cycle of like, okay, um, I get stressed in the day, I drink, I have to recover. And then it's like things start to feel better again, stress comes, and then I drink again, recover. And it's just this loop that continues. And so I think giving it up and replacing it with healthier habits, over the course of, yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit, it takes a few months to get there. But I mean, it's definitely so much better, and you're so much more productive and present, when it's not been in your system, and you find
Mhm.
other things like, it's like movement, yoga, fitness, walking, it's related to your diet, sleep, there's so many different things that you can optimize in order to um, feel better. And so I don't know. I kind of veered off. I don't know if I answered your your question.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's that's perfect. And what I'm curious about also is like when you think about your path to getting here. Like one thing I've really admired in you, you've been working on building Sober Creative for a little over a year now. So as you mentioned, April, so it's now July, so a little over a year. And you've been incredibly consistent in how you've shown up, and you produced an incredible body of work, had incredible, I know you have multiple interview series, multiple different things that you're doing here. You've launched a community, you've done multiple challenges, you're doing the private work. It's been a lot, and I'm just curious about your inner motivation. And you've had this long term career in videography and Emmy award winning work that you've done. So in the last year, what was it that kind of was your own turning point around kind of like, gosh, I really want to lean into sharing this message specifically? As someone I see as very multi-passionate, have a lot of gifts, what was it that kind of really led you to say, this is where I want to kind of direct that energy, and this is how I want to serve? Is there anything around that for on your own personal journey?
Yeah, I mean, like I think when we were working together, and whenever we started our journey, we had decided that we were going to do coaching around helping people start their video business. And so when I originally launched on Substack, it was with Clear Lens. And so it was so great, in working with you both, is that something was kind of missing there, and it didn't, like, the passion didn't feel like it was there. And so you guys did a great job at kind of pulling that out and asking me, questions. And when you asked me a question around sobriety, it just like kind of lit me up. And I remember it was like a 10-minute voice message that I sent back to you guys. And I think I had accidentally said like the sober creative in that message too. And you're like, that's it. Go buy that. Go buy that domain. And I did. And so I think I've really especially noticed that the conversations that I have every week, I get so much joy out of doing those. I mean, having done almost 60 now, I'm so amazed at how different every person's story is. And yeah, I mean, just like I think, and it's been reflected, back to me, is, I guess, my energy and presence is a very like calming nature. And so it feels very fitting and supporting, being in this space that allows someone to share something that's deep and hard that they may not have shared before. And I think too, it's a subject that, you know, it doesn't get a lot of spotlight. I think we're starting to move in a direction where, people are becoming more aware, especially like a younger generation. They're like, alcohol isn't like as exciting. And so yeah, I think it's important to touch on subjects that we normally wouldn't talk about, that we would kind of keep hidden because either it's like shame or afraid to talk about it. And so, especially with myself, I'm not afraid to like be like, hey, this is what's going on with me. This is a struggle for me right now, or whatever it might be, and just put that out there, and just see what ripples from it, and such. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you show up very authentically. And I'm sure that people feel that coming through, and it's what allows you to, yeah, create a connection here on Substack. Kelly, did you have something you wanted to ask? I noticed
I
that
just want to say,
you were
yeah.
leaning in there.
I think this is actually one of your gifts. And I think, the way you share so vulnerably about your own journey and where you are, like it creates a sense of safety. Because I agree, like it's not that, if I post, like if I make a comment on Substack, like, hey, let's grow Substack, then it's easier to get like a lot of comments, because there's not a lot of resistance. But when you're talking about like, hey, raise your hand if you have a problem with alcohol, like it's almost touching into like emotions like shame and guilt, and like that we don't want to experience that. So it's hard for someone to raise their hands. And in a way, you put yourself so openly on Substack, but also in the containers that you create, like the challenge, that almost feels easy, like, oh yeah, I feel shame too, like I have this problem too. So I just want to mention that because I think it's a gift to create such a safe space um, in an area or in a conversation. Yeah, Gary is saying that vulnerability is pure golden, especially around a subject that is not safe at all. It's actually surrounded by shame and emotions that are not very easy to feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's where I feel like the work's important. It's, yeah, I mean, there's so much we're carrying that, you know, we don't feel like we could talk about, and so it's important to bring light to these subjects that, may be difficult. So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the next thing, Josh, I'd love to touch on is as you've kind of made this, I don't know if I would call it a pivot, but as if you've added this new, layer to service and what you're creating with the sober creative. Um, has there been anything that you've noticed that maybe you used to believe about yourself or maybe even business in general that you felt you've had to let go of to kind of show up as you are today?
Mm, it's a good question. Yeah, like what would you like? Can you help frame that a bit more? Like what? Like yeah. Like what would I
Yeah.
have let go? Yeah.
Well, I feel that sometimes people come into creating something that is uniquely theirs with a lot of, I don't know, preconceptions or past beliefs about what they're capable of, what they're meant to do,
Mm.
what they have authority to do, are they, even qualified for certain things. That's just one vein of thinking. But sometimes it's money beliefs, sometimes it's around capacity, as someone like, for example, with yourself. I know you're juggling wearing multiple hats. You haven't fully moved to just you're doing this work in addition to still doing all the videography work that you also love. And so, yeah, just anything. It could be related to one of those examples, but it could be something completely else. The same thing that you've had to really examine for yourself in how you, yeah, show up, or even how you relate with the idea of what it means to show up in business.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess yeah. I mean, I'll speak to this, from my lens and perspective of, it's, yeah. I mean, having been in business for myself, yeah, for over 20 years, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of freedom to it in various ways. There's also a lot of challenges too. I mean, you definitely gotta put yourself out there and be consistent and such. And so, I've been fortunate with the production work that I've built like so many relationships and clients and such over the years that work has kind of sustained itself, through building this new business. And so, building this business, it wasn't like the first year wasn't as what I expected in regards to what was going to come financially, and the thing is like, that's okay. And I'm coming to see that it's it takes time. It takes time to build. I mean, like 1 year is really not that long. I mean, a lot can happen in a year, but in a business that it takes time for people to trust you, and so I've realized that this work is important in that aspect of that these conversations are still really important to have, and that I enjoy doing these conversations and bringing whatever little nugget of wisdom that someone's gonna hear that, might help their day or week or whatever it might be. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I mean, I think it's come to realize that in this business that, um, it's slow and steady, I mean, it really is. And it's too, like, having the perspective that my other business is supporting this one, and have that frame of mind versus like, oh, it's not working. Like, why is it like I didn't have the month that I wanted or whatever it might be? Yeah, it's a different perspective and appreciating that that work is fueling this important work. So yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's such an important perspective because we see that a lot, right? People either having a job or maybe having another business and then they want to transition to something else. And as much as they are excited about what is in here, um, often they don't want to leave this old version of themselves anymore and they want to just click and let go. But if we can actually connect with the idea that, well, what if this one here is supporting this? It shifts your energy completely. And all of a sudden, like being where you are is just perfect and it's financing and it's supporting and it's helping you evolve towards this other thing. And I think just that alone shifts your energy in a way that now you can be more present. You can actually do better on the other one and you can do better on the new one that you're creating because, it's feeding each other instead of having that like, I need to rush and I hate what I'm doing here. Or it's not your case, but for some people, like I hate my job and I just want to leap and, jump and off the cliff and go somewhere else. And in reality, like it is a gift if you have a job or another business that can actually support the new thing that you're creating for the long run. So I appreciate your perspective there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
Um,
think one of the things I was just going to share, it's one of the things that I admire about Josh, you, and so many of our clients is that because this work is a calling, I know you're building for the long haul. We talk a lot about this idea of opportunistic business versus the sacred, and there's nothing wrong with that path, and not everything has to be a calling. But I do think that when you're building from that space, then exactly what you said, slow and steady wins the race because you're going to arrive. You've been putting all the fundamental principles and foundations in place that are going to support the growth that you're looking to see. And, you're able to stay healthy because you've got that other side taken care of. So yeah, I really appreciate hearing that from you. Sorry, Caroline, I know you have more questions you'd like to get to.
Yeah, like just related to the work that you're doing right now, and I know it's coming deep from your heart. A lot of people, when they step into their calling and they want to start like making their calling a business, they struggle with visibility. Was that ever a thing for you, being visible, and what shifted?
Yeah. Yeah. Um I'll go back to one of our dear friends, Leo Babauta. I'm gonna call him out.
Mhm.
As a part of the Fearless Mastery program with him when he initially started it. And when I was a part of that group, I mean pretty much living like whether it was like events or whatever it might be, there was so much anxiety that would surround going around the room and then me having to speak. And it was like my last name is W, so usually I was like the last to go, and the anxiety had plenty of time to build up in my system to where I wanted to run out of the room. um and it's like I could feel it too whenever it was my turn, and just the shaking, and whether it came across outside of that, it was probably way worse in my head. But so, being a part of that group, there was a moment when, like, he had asked, he's like, you should step up and be a leader for one of the groups and start a group. And so I remember, like, seeing that message and just being like, "Ugh, uh, nope, that's not for me. I'm just gonna stay quiet back behind here," but no, there was a shift. There was like, "Okay, no, I'm gonna do it." And I did it, and it was amazing, and, yeah, it was very, like, uncomfortable at first, but it's like the more you do it and it was like very empowering, to show up at these meetings with 5, 6, 7 people, and just kind of help lead and guide that group. And it's through that practice that yeah, it's just like it just opened up, the opportunities to, when you face discomfort, it's way more hard in your mind than is actually in reality. And it's like when you do it, it's you feel it afterwards. Like even if it didn't go necessarily the way that you expected it to, it still was like, okay, I showed up. Um yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, like here being here now and here on the podcast and such, I mean, there's yeah, much more level of calm than I would have in the past. And that just yeah, I mean, repetition and yeah, yeah. I mean, it's in doing too, I did some videos that I mean, typically in my line of work, I would have stayed behind the camera. That's my work, and so it's like, okay, well, what's it like to put myself in front of it, and just play in that world. And so it's been a while since I produced some of these videos, but I did a little series where I would have to pretty much memorize a script of some research that I did around a topic. And then I would say it and I'd just be by myself here recording it. And but it was fun. It was fun. Like and just going through the whole process of like, oh, that didn't work. Let's try it again. Yeah, you gotta make it fun. So yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
So, kind of coming back to the work that you do with your clients, and specifically with the alcohol, what is? Can you think of one thing you wish more people kind of understood about undertaking this process of examining their use, and maybe something that you believe gets misunderstood or overlooked as people start to examine the relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I would say something that's probably I would say that's probably pretty common is it's like it almost it almost feels like it's a big life shift, that you're probably afraid of losing relationships, friendships because, the camaraderie that's around it. Um and so I mean, like I said, it's different with everybody, but it yeah, I mean, some of the people that I used to drink with, I mean, I still see them, I still hang out with them. It's just like the relationship dynamic like changed. I mean, for a while it was um oh, he's this is just another phase he's in, it's just temporary. And I mean, I was at that point I was pretty certain that it wasn't. And but I mean it's I don't know, it's just nice, being around those friends and just experiencing their presence in a different way. And I think for people that you can it's always something you can try. It's you don't have to like commit like your life to being sober. I mean, I think it's just like and that's what the reset in January was all about, is that you could just give it a try for a month, and it's so interesting. Like if you just like explore in that way and just be curious and just be like, yeah, let me commit to what this is like for at least a month and and just be like just see like you're gonna get through it, and just be curious on like what day 3 looks like. Like, wow, this is really hard. Oh, day 7 is even harder. Oh, day 14 is not as hard. It's just like kind of like an experimentation, most and just being, and just yeah, trying it out is what I would suggest. Yeah. Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, it's beautiful what you said, and it made me think that there's like the before you commit to stop drinking, your sense of identity is so connected to
Mm.
that thing that you almost feel that like I belong here because I choose drink, right? So then you have your friends and they're all drinking. And then the fear of like, if I stop drinking, there's not other connections, so then I won't belong to that anymore. But it almost feels to me that once you fully accepted yourself as whole without the drinking, then the group accepted you too, and you can still be part of that group and you can still have fun with them, but you don't need to participate on the drinking itself. So it's very nice to see. Would you say that this is true? Like that, your self acceptance contributing to, go back to old containers, but with a new identity.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I also think that it depends on the group and people and individual. There might be some individuals that's like I really miss this person that used to drink, or it's like I'm uncomfortable doing this when you're not doing it, and so I think each situation is different. But
Mm.
yeah, I definitely agree with what you say because it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you drop the drink, and it's really about the connection with everybody that's around you and your friends and family. And I think that I would say this probably for most, is that it's like a confidence thing, and a confidence and wholeness, yeah, within that. It's like if I could have that without having the drink, then yeah, it's pretty damn good. So yeah.
Mm. Mm. So coming back to your kind of journey as a creator and, being behind the camera and now in front of the camera and everything you've created in the last year, I know there's a lot of people that are kind of like, one step behind where I kind of see where you are today. Like, they might be at home feeling a little stuck, feel like they have something in their heart. It may not be the same as yours, but something that's their calling, but they can't really feel how to get traction or to get it out into the world. So what would you say to someone like that, based on what your last year has been like for yourself personally?
I think Gary answered it like just now. I um yeah, I mean I I don't like I'll come back to this word curious because it's really like resonating with me here lately. I think it's such a strong word and something that, especially for someone that has never tried like stopping to drink, and they've done it for so long, it's like, well, what's it look like to try this for a month and be curious about it and see what happens from that. Maybe that's the spark, and then if it is, like, run with it, and keep going and build off of it. And if it's not, then be like, that's okay. I tried, I'll go back to having a few or whatever it might be. But yeah, just be curious and continue to like search and um, try different things. Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Mhm. Cool. And as you've been creating the Sober Creative, what would you say you've been most proud of in your journey? And it could be in results, but not just in your results, like who you see that you've been becoming in the process as you've put yourself out in this new way.
Yeah, I mean I mean I set a pretty high bar for myself that is pretty going off the screen here. It's somewhere way up there. um, and so it's just like it's trying to recognize that it's like I've done a really great job, in this first year, and just like really letting that like settle in and just feel it. I feel like we can always reach for whatever that next thing is, that next essay, that next note, that next just reaching, and so it's yeah, I mean, I I was talking with my therapist recently, and he was saying he's like, yeah, there's like, people, there's like a really big percentage. I forget exactly what he said, but he's like, people that don't get past the 10th episode or something on a podcast. I'm like, okay, I'm doing pretty damn good. So yeah, just kind of relishing in what's been created, and yeah, just the feedback that I've gotten from, people that are part of the collective, and, just as subscribers and followers, that yeah, this work is important, and yeah, it's something that I'm very passionate about. So yeah, yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is definitely something to be proud of. And I think connected to the beginning of our conversation of like alcohol being like a quick solution for things, right? Like it's just easy to go to the store, swipe your card, and then drink. And then, like, now I'm relaxed. And maybe this is easier than um, introducing a new habit, but it's this quick result thing that often I think we get trapped. And then even for like a business, right? Like sometimes I think that 1 year is like a lot, but if you think about like giving birth to a child, it takes 9 months to be inside of you. And then if we add 3 months more, the child is still, it's there, but it's still completely dependent, right? It's not eating on their own. They're not walking on their own. And now we have with AI and all the technology and all the screen and the fast pace that we live, we think that things should be like this. And I truly, truly admire you, your work, your consistency, and then anyone like actually is stepping into this and like, hey, I'm here for the long term. I'm here because I am also becoming the business as I'm growing here and all of that. And it's yeah, it's a process of like giving birth, and it can't be a 1 week, right? It can be like a 1 day or one click, and then like it's done. It's a process of transformation. So I admire that.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And I mean, just kudos to you guys for, the work that you're doing. I mean, I think you both complement each other so well. And the way that you give to your community members and help them each individually in their own unique businesses has been such a gift as well. So thank you. Yeah. And it's so
Thank you.
true that like the baby reference is such a good framing, because I think there's a lot of distractions, especially in a lot of essays or things that are like quick, you can reach this in X amount of months and have this level of success, and it's like, yeah, that like feels good, and but it's like if you're constantly like trying different things and switching and moving, it's like you're really not moving. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot I could say about that, but that's not why we're here. So I'll hold that conversation for a long time. But you know my point of view, and those of you who know me here on the call, you know that. But yes, to everything that you just shared. Um, and now I would love to give you the opportunity, because you said you hold a high standard for yourself, and it was way off the screen. When you do allow yourself to dream, when you do allow yourself to think about the bigger ways in which the sober creative will continue to serve as you move forward, what is the vision that you see yourself building towards? Where's this all going? What has your highest level of excitement right now?
Um, yeah, there's multiple things. So yeah, continuing to, serve and be available to, as many people as possible, with one-on-one work. I think it's so, like, I enjoy it so much, and just having the opportunity to be able to do that. And so just, the it's a call away, a calendar click away to schedule a call. And so doing that and building that more. My collective community, I'd love to grow that. It's been absolutely incredible, what we've done in the past, I think it's 3 or 4 months now. And we had our first guest workshop recently that was just absolutely incredible. We've implemented wonder walks, throughout each month, and we experienced our own when I was there in Brazil, and it's so nice. And it's just such a great thing to keep building on. And then too, I really want to incorporate my production work into the Sober
Mhm.
Creative and produce a documentary series. That'd be like a mini doc series. And yeah, it'd be really, really cool, to film with people that either have been on the podcast or have been a part of the podcast. You could almost look at it as like these are pre-interview conversations, and I've interviewed people all over the world. And so to be able to travel the world and produce these stories would be absolutely insane. And so, yeah, we'll see where I'm at in 5 years. So, yeah.
That's exciting.
I've I have a feeling you're gonna compress, not that it can't take what it needs to take, but I have a feeling you're gonna compress that timeline pretty quickly based on what I've seen in the last year. So I'm really excited to continue to follow your work and see where you continue to take things, Josh. And on that note, before we wrap, I know we're kind of coming up on time, but being that we are here on Substack and you've chosen to make Substack kind of your home for the most part, it makes it really easy for people to connect with your work. But if someone has, if this conversation has stoked some curiosity in someone or they want to explore their relationship with alcohol, what's the kind of best first step for them in terms of getting more intimately connected to what you have to offer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm distracted by I would love to go to Ireland, Gary.
Yeah, you already have another invitation to add to your list.
All right, tickets booked. Already happened. I would say, like, yeah, I mean, Substack is really what I've built this on. I mean, I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn, but my time has predominantly been spent here on Substack. And so the best way is to go to this Sober Creative Substack homepage and the Start Here, and click through that and read through there. And at the end, it's in inviting you to a free conversation. And that's really the
Mhm.
best place is to we can hop on a call and just explore what's possible. So, yeah.
Mhm. And I was gonna see if I could just grab that link for you and post it into the chat
Mhm.
before we close. Yes, let's see if I was quick enough to pull it off. There we go. Yeah. So if
All right,
anyone's here on the
thanks.
chat with us and is just curious, they can go check it out there. But and yeah, also we will be kind of producing this into a recap and sharing the replay with our audience and all the relative links and things. And yeah, I know there's lots of ways people can play with you in your world. So yeah, we'll make sure people are aware of all those things. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for being here with us and your generosity of spirit and how you show up for your people and how you've shown up in our community over the last year and a half has been really incredible as well. So thank you for everything that you've done.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, I appreciate this opportunity to be a part of this series. I mean, it's yeah, you've got a really wonderful, community that is happening and building, and the work that you guys are doing. It's been so awesome to be a part of it. And so, yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And thank everyone for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone. Have a great
Thanks.
day.
Bye.
Take
Thank
You
care.
you.
too.
Bye.
Bye.